When Amma opened the forbidden calabash, dozens of shadows fled, each carrying a secret meant to stay buried. The drums fall silent, the wind holds its breath, and Amma's name echoes through the night like a warning. Far beyond the red earth paths and millet farms, tucked between ancient hills and the whispering Odan forest, stood the village of Kumasi Koko, a place famous for a rare gift. In this village lived shadow-carving griots, storytellers who shaped the shadows of people and objects into living memories. With their sacred calabashes, they captured the essence of moments, the joy of a child's first dance, the sorrow of a widow's tear, the hope in a young warrior's eyes. These shadows were not toys. They were histories. They were warnings. They were truths, preserved for the future. But truth, as the elders say, must be handled like fire. It gives light, or it burns. In this village lived Amma, a 16-year-old girl with eyes that saw too much and hands that touched what they shouldn't. She was clever, curious, and always asking questions the elders preferred to leave alone. Her mother often scolded her. Amma, your curiosity has legs, but does it have brakes? Amma only smiled. Mother, how will I learn if I never look? Little did she know, some things should never be looked at. Every market day, Amma watched the griots carve shadows into calabashes, beautiful patterns glowing like trapped moonlight. And among all the griots, one stood above the rest, old Makena, the village's grand keeper of shadows. Makena was tall and thin, with white hair that looked like dust blown from ancient times. His voice was a quiet thunder. His eyes held stories no one could finish reading. On the eastern side of the village sat Makena's hut. Inside his hut sat his treasures, and at the back of that hut sat a small, round, forbidden calabash, sealed with red twine and marked with carved symbols that looked like crawling ants. It was said to contain borrowed shadows, shadows that did not belong to the living or the willing, shadows taken from secrets too dangerous to speak. Amma had asked Makena once, "What is inside that little calabash?" Makena had stared at her long and hard. "Child," he said, "there are shadows meant to guide you, and shadows meant to swallow you. That calabash holds the latter." "Why keep it?" Amma pressed. "To remember the cost of curiosity without discipline," Makena replied. That sentence hooked Amma's mind like fish on a thorn. She could not forget it. Night after night she wondered, what shadow could be so dangerous that even light fears it? The season of Akun, the festival of shadows, approached. It was the time when the griots opened their calabashes and released the shadows of ancestors, letting them dance against the walls of the communal hut for all to see. The village buzzed with excitement. Children practiced songs, women dyed cloth, men carved drums, even the goats behaved themselves. But Amma had only one thought in her mind. I will see what is inside that forbidden calabash. The more the elders warned her, the stronger the itch grew behind her eyes. One afternoon, while delivering palm oil to old Makena's hut, she paused. The door was open. Makena was nowhere in sight. Inside, the hut felt like a cave of sleeping secrets. The little calabash sat in the corner, still, silent, breathing its cold mystery. Amma's heart thumped. Her palms grew wet. Her curiosity grew teeth. She whispered to herself, just one glance, only one. She stepped toward it. One step, 2 steps, 3. Then, Makena's voice cut through the air. Amma. She froze. Curiosity is a river, Makena said quietly behind her. But not every river leads to clean water. Amma turned slowly, swallowing her guilt. I wasn't going to open it, she lied. Makina smiled sadly. You will, if you keep walking this way. And when you do, the shadows will not be the only thing set free. That night, Alma could not sleep. Makina's warning only sharpened her desire. The night before the festival, the sky was moonless, black as charcoal. The wind raced around the village like a spirit chased by fear. Children were told to sleep early. Even the fires burned low, as though hiding. Alma lay on her mat, eyes wide open. The forbidden Calabash called to her. She could almost hear it whisper her name. Before long, her curiosity overpowered her caution. She crept out of her hut, barefoot, stepping quietly like a cat. The village was silent, too silent. Even the night crickets refused to chirp. Alma slipped toward Makina's hut. She expected it to be locked. It wasn't. The door creaked open. She stepped inside. The forbidden Calabash sat in the same corner, glowing faintly, as though waiting, expecting her. She lifted it gently. It was cold, colder than the night air, colder than fear. A quick look, she whispered. Alma, be fast. Her fingers tugged at the red twine. She hesitated. Her breath shook. Then she untied it. The top popped open with a sound like a gasp, and then shadows burst out, dozens, hundreds. They shot across the hut like escaped birds, spilling into the night like spilled ink. They swirled around her, whispering in voices she could not understand. Some laughed, some cried, some screamed. One hissed into her ear. Why did you free us? Alma fell backward, trembling. She had never felt fear so deep. It sank into her bones. Outside the hut, shadows raced into the village, attaching themselves to people's walls, people's feet, people's arts. Alma ran home, breathless, terrified. She prayed the shadows would vanish by morning. They did not. Rooster crow, daybreak, trouble. Villagers poured out of their huts screaming. Someone's shadow was crying uncontrollably. Another shadow was fighting with its own body. A woman's shadow refused to follow her, walking the opposite direction. A child's shadow sat on the roof, refusing to come down. Chaos, confusion, panic. Old Makina stood in the middle of the village, gripping his staff, horror etched on his face. These are not your shadows, he announced. These are borrowed shadows. Shadows of old sins, old lies, old secrets. They belong to none of you. Villagers gasped. Some collapsed, others ran. Alma stood at the back of the crowd, shaking. She knew the truth. This was her doing. But she could not speak. Her throat felt locked. Makina raised his staff. We must return these shadows to the Calabash before sunset, or they will root themselves into our lives. But how? Someone shouted. Makina took a deep breath. The one who opened it must close it. The crowd murmured. Who is the one? They asked. Alma felt fire rise in her chest. Her secret pulled at her tongue like a hot coal. She wanted to hide, to run, to lie. But the shadows had taught her something. Secrets are never truly silent. She stepped forward, voice trembling. It was me. The crowd gasped. Her mother cried out. Makena did not look surprised. Makena placed a hand on Alma's shoulder. Child, he said gently, you have done wrong, but you also have the courage to admit it. Now you must fix what you broke. He gave her an empty calabash. To return a shadow, he explained, you must listen to its pain, understand its truth, then speak the words that invite it home. Alma swallowed. How many shadows must I catch? All of them, Makina said, before the sun dies. Alma took a deep breath and stepped toward the nearest broken shadow. It belonged to a hunter whose shadow was shaking uncontrollably. As Alma approached, the shadow snarled like a wounded beast. Makina whispered, ask it what it wants. Alma did. The shadow spoke in a voice that wasn't the hunter's. I was abandoned, it said. I was the fear the hunter hid when he pretended to be brave. Amma nodded. I hear you, she whispered. You were fear, pretending to be strength. Come home. The shadow softened, then slipped into the calabash. Amma stared. It worked. Next, she approached the woman whose shadow refused to follow her. What do you desire? Amma asked. I was the word she swallowed for years. The shadow replied. The truth she never dared to speak. Amma said, You carried a heavy burden. Come home. The shadow returned. Shadow by shadow she listened. She apologized. She soothed. She invited them back. Some were stubborn. Some were angry. Some were heartbreakingly sad. But Amma did not run. She did not complain. She worked, hour after hour, shadow after shadow, until her legs shook and her voice cracked. The sun began to sink. One shadow remained. It clung to the tallest baobab tree at the edge of the village. It was larger, darker, and colder than the others. Amma approached slowly. What are you? She whispered. The shadow answered, I am yours. Amma froze. My what? I am the part of you that never listens. The shadow said, I am your impatience, your stubbornness, your hunger to know everything, even when you're not ready. Amma broke down, tears streaming. I didn't mean to cause harm, she sobbed. I just wanted to know the truth. The shadow softened. Truth is not the enemy, but truth, without discipline, becomes destruction. Amma nodded through tears. Will you come home? She asked. The shadow dissolved into mist, then folded itself into the calabash. Amma closed the lid, tied the red twine, and collapsed into Makena's waiting arms. The village returned to peace. Shadows behaved once more. People reclaimed their rhythms. Amma stood before the elders, ashamed yet wiser. Makena spoke. This child has done wrong, but she has also faced herself. She has learned what many adults refuse to learn. He placed the calabash in Amma's hands. Curiosity is a gift, Makena said, but without discipline, it becomes a blade that cuts its owner. Amma nodded slowly. I understand now. Her mother embraced her tightly. Villagers forgave her. Amma forgave herself, and the forbidden calabash was returned to its shelf, sealed once again. But this time, Amma did not itch to open it. She had learned the weight of shadows. And so ends the story of Amma and the calabash of borrowed shadows. A lesson carved into the memory of Kumasi Koko. Curiosity is a beautiful gift, but without discipline, it becomes a dangerous fire. Know when to seek answers and when to let mysteries rest.